Europeans have had enough. After years of open border policies, leaders in nation after nation on the continent have begun the process of mass deportations. We're going to look at the latest news coming from the other side of the Atlantic and why it suggests precisely what we are going to see here in the States come November. You are not going to want to miss this. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot professor, here to help you stay sane in these insane times. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Before we dive into the mass deportations happening around Europe, with all of the insanity and uncertainty surrounding us and the world as a whole, there's never been a better time to secure your finances with the timeless value of gold and silver. And so that's why we have as one of our wonderful friends and sponsors, the amazing company Goldco, because they're patriots just like us who want to help you and guide you in how to get into precious metals, but completely tax-free and penalty-free. In fact, if you click on that link below right now, you can get your very own absolutely free gold and silver kit. It's an amazing free resource that shows you step-by-step how to get into precious metals, even if your money's still in a retirement account like an IRA or a 401k. And just to show you how awesome the Patriots at Goldco are, the best part is that you may actually already qualify to get up to $10,000 in free silver. Gang, I told you they're the best. So what are you waiting for? Get in on the action by clicking on that link below or going to turleytalkslikesgold.com and get your free gold and silver kit today. Take a look at this headline. 2/3 of Americans support mass deportations. But if we go across the pond, we find virtually the same level of support. The difference is that European leaders are now starting to do something about it. And it's even happening in the least likely of nations, such as Sweden. Sweden is reportedly in the process of sending back a plane full of migrants to the nation of Iraq. Some of these migrants have been reportedly in Sweden for the last 17 years. No longer. Sweden, perhaps more than any other European nation, has had the biggest about face in regard to immigration. The left-wing Guardian reported that Sweden now has the lowest level of asylum applications in their history, with asylum-related residence permits decreasing at an unprecedented level. And for the very first time in 50 years, Sweden has a net negative immigration, meaning more migrants are leaving than are coming in. Over the last decade, the Scandinavian nation of just over 10 million, they saw the highest influx per capita of North African and Middle Eastern migrants of any nation in all of Europe, and they've had it. And now their nationalist populist government, their so-called far-right government, has begun to institute a number of mass deportation measures. If you don't know, just a couple of years back, Sweden's center-right party formed a coalition with their so-called far-right, radical right, anti-immigration party known as the Sweden Democrats. As it turns out, the only thing extreme about this new coalition is its popularity. Led by Jimmie Åkesson, the Swedish Democrats have gone from single-digit support in the political margins just a few short years ago to now one of the single most popular parties in the entire nation. But it's not just Sweden. It's being widely reported that Italy's illegal immigration has plummeted by 64% under their new prime minister, Giorgia Meloni. Now, this news comes after there was some real concern about Meloni allowing illegal migrants who show up at ports like Lampedusa, the Italian island. There were reports that she was basically kowtowing to the bullies in Brussels at the EU to allow this wave of illegal migrants to continue to come into Italy and the continent as a whole. A lot of illegal migration into Europe comes by way of Italy, given the relative ease of access by water from northern Africa. Well, now it's been confirmed, whatever Meloni may have been doing at the beginning of her administration in terms of cooperating with the bullies in Brussels, that's over. According to the New York Post, Italy's level of illegal immigration has plunged 64% after Prime Minister Meloni cracked down hard on smugglers and worked with Italy's neighbors to stop the flow. And in Germany, Their government has begun to crack down on illegal immigration due to the pressure brought to bear by their Patriot Party, the AfD, the Alternative for Deutschland. They've made mass deportations a centerpiece of their political platform. Here's AfD leader Alice Weidel articulating in no uncertain terms the AfD's position on immigration.
Die Grenzen müssen geschlossen werden. Illegale Migranten müssen ohne Ausnahme abgewiesen werden. Wer sich unberechtigt hier aufhält, muss abgeschoben werden. Kriminelle, Terroristen und Sozialbetrüger, die missbräuchlich eingebürgert wurden, müssen den deutschen Pass wieder abgeben, liebe Freunde. Das und nur das verstehen wir unter Remigration.
If you are listening by way of our 20 million podcast downloads, that was AfD leader Alice Weidel promising that if given power, the AfD would completely shut down Germany's borders along with a mass deportation program in order to restore the integrity of Germany's historic traditional culture. It's no wonder that just a few weeks back, the AfD won 2 major elections back-to-back in the East German states of Thuringia and Saxony. The AfD won first place with 34% of the vote in Thuringia, and then they came in a very close second in neighboring Saxony, just behind the Christian Democrats. That's Angela Merkel's old party. They came in at just over 30% in Saxony. So overall, the AfD is now officially the single most popular political party in all of East Germany, and you can see why. Now, when all's said and done, what's ultimately driving these calls for mass deportations is not far-right, radical right, extremist politics, as the left-wing legacy media would have you think. It's actually something that scholars call post-security politics. I've just written about this as a worldwide phenomenon in my latest book, Fight: How Trump and the MAGA Movement Are Changing the World. I have an entire chapter devoted to post-security politics and how nation after nation after nation all over the world are actively taking measures to secure their borders as their leaders are buckling under the enormous pressure brought on by their patriot populations. Post-security politics describes the kind of political reactions that happen when the 3 basic securities that are supposed to be guaranteed by the nation state, border security, economic security, and cultural security, all erode under the pressures of globalization. So globalization, of course, has eroded border security primarily through getting rid of borders and opening up Europe to mass migration, particularly back in 2015. Globalization has eroded economic security with something called a global division of labor, where manufacturing and factory jobs are shipped out to third world nations, but also where migrant labor has completely undercut the wages of the working class. And globalization has eroded cultural security by recasting a nation's culture, customs, and traditions as bigoted, racist, all kinds of phobic, all the while allowing radical demographic changes happening through globalism's propensity towards open borders. And so these post-security concerns form a self-reinforcing loop. And what we're seeing is that more and more populations feel radically insecure and unsafe and vulnerable, all as they see their culture and their distinct ways of life crumble right before their very eyes. And so now even Sweden, what was historically the single most liberal nation in all of Europe, even Sweden is now moving way to the right, the nationalist populist right, and are beginning to actively protect their borders and engage in programs of mass deportation to restore the border economic and cultural sovereignty of their nation. And so what all of this means is that the same concerns that we as Americans have about our border security are increasingly shared by populations all over the world, particularly in Europe. So if Europe appears to have finally turned the corner on this issue, it's only a matter of time, perhaps just a few weeks from now, when we will as well.